Caleb, if you're hearing this, I need you to listen carefully. Savannah isn't who you think she is. Celeste's voice trembled but remained steady as chaos erupted around her, Savannah screaming, Landon lunging, and security pounding at the door. Hidden in her maid's uniform, phone still broadcasting, Celeste exposed the betrayal that would shatter her son's world and save his life. Caleb Mitchell stood beneath the golden chandelier of the Ritz-Carlton ballroom, champagne flute in hand, smiling like a man who had just secured the final piece of a perfect life. At 38, he had built Mitchell Dynamics from the ground up, a cybersecurity empire valued at nearly $600 million, protecting everything from Fortune 500 companies to sensitive government infrastructure. He was a self-made man, a black entrepreneur who had broken into the highest echelons of Silicon Valley without ever compromising who he was. The applause rippling across the crowd that night wasn't just for the man or the milestone, it was for the moment. But Caleb wasn't thinking about business. His eyes were locked on Savannah Lee, the woman clinging to his arm like she belonged there. And in Caleb's heart, she did. Savannah was elegance and charm personified. At 33, she was a PR executive who could spin anything into gold. Her honey-toned skin glowed under the ballroom lights, and her designer gown hugged every curve like it had been sewn just for her. With her bright laugh, luminous eyes, and effortless grace, she had Caleb enchanted from the first moment they met at a tech gala in Napa Valley. 8 months later, they were engaged. Savannah had said yes on a starlit rooftop in Manhattan while Caleb knelt in a crisp black tuxedo, holding out a 2-carat cushion-cut diamond set in platinum. The world had watched the moment unfold on social media, complete with a slow-motion spin and a cinematic music overlay. It was perfect. Too perfect. Celeste Mitchell knew better. Standing at the back of the ballroom in a silver floor-length dress, Caleb's mother smiled politely at the engagement toast, but her eyes were sharp. At 62, she had retired from law enforcement after 3 decades with the NYPD, much of that time spent as a top-tier detective investigating fraud, homicide, and complex criminal networks. She didn't miss much. And she didn't like Savannah Lee. It wasn't just motherly instinct or protectiveness over her only son. It was the way Savannah's stories about her childhood in Connecticut changed slightly each time she told them. It was how her smile never reached her eyes when talking to the staff. And most of all, it was the slip-up Celeste caught last week, Savannah claiming both her parents had died in a car accident, then casually mentioning that she'd spent Christmas with her mom in Vermont. 1 lie might be forgetfulness. 2 was a red flag. And Savannah was full of them. "Mom, you've got to stop," Caleb had said just a few nights ago, frustration bleeding into his voice as they sat in his penthouse sipping scotch. "She's not perfect, I know that. But she's not some villain. You're just not giving her a chance." Celeste had nodded, lips pressed into a tight line, filing away her doubts. Caleb had been through too much to sabotage his joy with baseless suspicion. But the truth was, something deep in her gut screamed that this woman, this picture of poise and poise, was hiding something sinister. And then Savannah handed her the perfect opening. "I'm looking for a new housekeeper," she had said during brunch the next morning, twirling her mimosa glass without meeting Celeste's eyes. "The last one was lazy and forgetful. I swear I'm cursed when it comes to finding reliable help. You wouldn't happen to know someone discreet and trustworthy, would you?" Celeste smiled slowly, the corner of her mouth lifting just enough to mask the flash of realization behind her eyes. "I might," she said, her voice warm. "Let me make a few calls." She didn't need to make any. That night, she dusted off an old file box from the attic, the one labeled Deep Cover. Inside were notes, makeup palettes, a wig of salt and pepper curls, and a weathered ID badge that once belonged to an alias she hadn't used in years. Isabella Torres was reborn that night in front of her bathroom mirror. Her soft brown skin aged with expertly applied makeup, her figure altered with padding, and her thick glasses dulled her sharp gaze. She practiced the accent, low, faintly Latin, humble but obedient. Within 72 hours, Isabella Torres was standing in the marble lobby of Savannah's luxury apartment building, holding a fake resume that could pass any HR scan. She got the job on the spot. You come highly recommended, Savannah said, breezing past her without a handshake. You'll clean the kitchen, the floors, the guest room, and especially my office. But never touch anything on the desk. I'll know if you do. Celeste nodded with a demure yes, Miss Lee, while internally taking note that office was going to be key. Over the next 2 weeks, she saw everything Savannah didn't want the world to see. The fake accent gave her invisibility, and in that invisibility, Celeste discovered the truth. The charming, graceful Savannah became cruel when no one was watching. She hurled racist remarks at delivery workers. She belittled the doorman. She sneered at those people while scrolling Instagram. But the worst came one evening when a man appeared at the door, a tall, handsome white man in his 30s with a smug grin and an intimate air. Landon, Savannah purred, wrapping her arms around him. Did anyone see you come up? No one, he smirked. How's our boy toy doing? Clueless as ever, Savannah replied. He asked me about a prenup, can you believe it? I played the hurt card and made him apologize for even thinking it. Celeste was standing in the hallway with a cleaning rag, holding her breath as she listened. By the time we're married, I'll have full access to the security software. Then it's game over. $20 million from the Shanghai buyer just for the source code. Plus whatever we can liquidate from his assets, Landon added. 3 months, and we vanish. Celeste clenched her fists so tightly the rag nearly tore in her hand. This wasn't just about her son's heart. This was about national security. Mitchell Dynamics wasn't just some tech startup. It held encryption keys that protected government data, financial institutions, and military communication. This was treason. For the next 5 days, Celeste collected everything: audio files, photographs of Savannah's safe, screenshots of emails when she briefly left her laptop open. She uncovered the hidden compartment behind the bookshelf that stored a silver MacBook Pro filled with detailed timelines, target lists, and contingency plans. The most chilling file was labeled Mitchell, Extraction. It outlined psychological manipulation strategies, entry-level password exploits, and, most horrifying of all, a subfolder titled Mother Problem. It suggested several strategies, from cutting Celeste out emotionally to staging a medical crisis to distract Caleb. That night, Celeste didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her motel bed, staring at her reflection, wondering how far a mother should go to protect her child. And then she remembered what her own mother once told her: a good mother gives her child roots. A great one gives them wings, and protects them while they fly. Celeste wasn't just going to stop the wedding. She was going to expose the predator behind the smile and dismantle the entire web of lies Savannah had spun. Caleb wouldn't believe it until he saw it. So Celeste planned one final act, one perfect trap, and one night that would reveal everything. Because Savannah Lee might have fooled the world, but she'd messed with the wrong mother. And Celeste Mitchell was about to remind everyone exactly who she was. Savannah Lee had no idea that the woman scrubbing her marble counters and folding her couture throw blankets with military precision had just cracked open the truth behind her smile. What she also didn't know was that Isabella Torres, her seemingly obedient housekeeper, wasn't who she claimed to be. She wasn't some docile maid grateful for the opportunity. She was Celeste Mitchell, a former NYPD detective, mother of the very man Savannah planned to ruin, and a woman on a mission. And now, Celeste had the evidence she needed. Nearly 2 weeks undercover had revealed not just petty cruelty but a full-blown conspiracy. Savannah, whose real name might not even be Savannah, was colluding with her secret lover Landon to siphon off Caleb's fortune, sell Mitchell Dynamics' proprietary cybersecurity software to foreign buyers, and disappear before anyone could trace the wreckage. Celeste had seen it all, heard the private toasts, the whispered plans, the unguarded gloating in Savannah's penthouse during late-night rendezvous. She'd photographed documents, captured audio of every damning confession, and hacked into a hidden laptop containing spreadsheets, contact lists, and an unsettling file labeled Mitchell, Extraction. But she needed one final piece: Savannah's unfiltered confession, unguarded and undeniable. She needed the moment where the predator dropped the act and bared her teeth in front of witnesses. That opportunity came quicker than expected. Caleb's flying to San Diego tomorrow, Savannah had said into her phone one evening, pacing barefoot across the white marble floor, wine glass in hand. He thinks there's a breach in one of the Western data centers. Landon's team planted it perfectly. He'll be gone 2, maybe 3 days. That gives us all the time we need. Celeste, sweeping beneath the kitchen island, froze as the plan snapped into focus. Savannah had engineered a fake security breach to lure Caleb away. With him gone, Savannah planned to host what she called a charity planning meeting, which Celeste knew was code for gathering her co-conspirators. That was the night. That was when Savannah would finally speak freely, when the masks would drop. And Celeste would be there. The next afternoon, Caleb kissed Savannah goodbye at the airport with a promise to FaceTime from the hotel. He had no idea the emergency that pulled him away was orchestrated by the woman he planned to marry. He had no clue that as his private jet lifted off toward the coast, Savannah was already texting Landon, "Clear." Back in Manhattan, Celeste prepared for the final act. Her Isabella disguise was refined one last time, wig brushed, age lines touched up, uniform pressed. But she wasn't going in as a maid tonight. She was going in as a mother. At precisely 8:42 p.m., Celeste entered the building through the service elevator, her steps calm but deliberate. The security guard nodded her in, recognizing the uniform, never questioning her presence. That was the advantage of invisibility. You could walk straight into betrayal and no one would flinch. The apartment buzzed with soft jazz and laughter. Through the partially open door, Celeste could hear the clink of wine glasses and the velvet murmur of Savannah's voice entertaining guests. She knocked. Savannah answered with a champagne flute in one hand and a tight smile that vanished the moment she recognized the woman in the hallway. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "I forgot my medication, Miss Lee," Celeste answered, lowering her gaze. "My blood pressure pills. The manager said you were home. I just need 2 minutes." Savannah glanced behind her where several well-dressed guests, mostly white men in expensive suits and one woman with too much jewelry, lounged on designer furniture, sipping Dom Perignon. "Fine. Make it quick," she snapped, stepping aside. Celeste moved past her, slow but steady, activating the audio recorder hidden in her apron pocket. She entered the guest bathroom. Closed the door just enough to stay concealed but not block the sound. And then she waited. From behind the door, the conversation began to unfold like a confession. "Where's the golden boy tonight?" a woman asked with a smirk. "San Diego," Savannah replied, her voice light and dripping with disdain. "Chasing shadows we created. He'll be gone long enough for us to make our move." A man laughed. "And he still has no idea?" "Please," Savannah said. "He's so desperate to believe I'm the perfect partner. He doesn't question a thing. When I told him his mother was being possessive and borderline racist, he actually apologized for her." Another round of laughter followed. Savannah's voice turned colder. She was sniffing around too much. Asking about my background, my family, my past. I told Caleb she's just having trouble accepting that he's with a white woman. Celeste gritted her teeth, the words landing like blows. "He thinks he's being progressive," Savannah continued. "But really, he's just a fool in love. Which makes this so much easier. So what's the plan?" Landon's voice entered the room now, unmistakable. "After the wedding, we wait 2 weeks. Then we start moving the money. We've already prepped offshore accounts. Small transfers first. Enough to stay off radar. By the time he figures it out, the software will already be in Shanghai." "And the mother?" another man asked. Savannah paused. "Already working on it. Once I'm legally family, she won't have access to him. Emotional distance first. Then, if needed, medical, get him to think she's slipping. Dementia's a convenient excuse." Celeste clutched the sink, steadying herself against the fury rising in her chest. She had enough. She stepped out of the bathroom, just as Savannah turned around, surprised to see her standing there. "Did you find your meds?" Savannah asked, masking tension with a smile. Yes, Celeste said quietly, stepping closer. And I found something else too. Excuse me? Savannah narrowed her eyes. Who are you really? Celeste took off her glasses. Then the wig. My name is Celeste Mitchell. I'm Caleb's mother. And I've been watching everything. The room fell silent. Landon stood. One of the other men pulled his phone from his pocket. Savannah froze, her mask gone, revealing cold fury. You think anyone will believe you, she snapped. You broke into my home, spied on me. This is illegal. Not as illegal as fraud. Or corporate espionage, Celeste replied, raising her phone, still recording. I've got everything on tape. Including your little strategy for making me disappear. Get her phone. Savannah yelled. Landon moved forward, but Celeste was faster. She stepped back, her free hand already pressing a speed dial button. The phone connected. Caleb, she said into the speaker. If you're hearing this, I need you to listen. Everything they've said tonight has been recorded. Savannah isn't who you think she is. She and Landon are trying to steal your company. They planned the security breach. They're selling your tech to foreign buyers. She's been using you. You lying, Savannah lunged. Celeste ducked just as a wine glass flew past her head and shattered on the wall. She backed into the hallway, still broadcasting to her son, still holding the phone high. They're trying to stop me now. I'm at her penthouse. 73rd and Madison. Call the police. Call Keith. Call the FBI. A door burst open. Celeste's backup, a retired colleague from her precinct, appeared with 2 building security officers behind him. Step away from her, he barked. The guests froze. Landon backed off. Savannah stood in the center of the room, her face twisted in rage. Celeste turned to the guards. They've committed felony-level conspiracy, theft, and are threatening my life. I suggest you detain them until law enforcement arrives. Savannah screamed, a sound half human, half primal. This isn't over. No, Celeste replied, breathing hard but calm. It's just beginning. And 2,000 miles away, on a quiet hotel balcony in San Diego, Caleb Mitchell sat frozen, his mother's voice echoing in his ear as the illusion of love shattered around him. 2,000 miles away in a San Diego hotel suite, Caleb Mitchell stood on the balcony, the ocean breeze brushing against his skin, but he barely felt it. His phone, still in his hand, had just gone silent. For the past 5 minutes, he had listened to a nightmare unfold, his mother's voice, no longer soft and cautious, but firm and urgent, broadcasting every venom-laced word Savannah had spilled about him, about Celeste, and about Mitchell Dynamics. Her laughter, her mockery, her plans to steal his company and vanish with her lover, Landon, it all hit Caleb like a freight train. The woman he was going to marry in less than a week had just revealed herself to be a con artist. And he had fallen for it all. He hadn't just ignored the signs, he had defended them. He dismissed his mother's warnings, rationalized Savannah's inconsistencies, and looked the other way when she belittled others, chalking it up to stress. Now it was all unraveling. Caleb's fingers were trembling as he tapped the call button again. Keith, he said, voice tight, when his best friend and COO picked up. Drop everything. Get legal on the line, activate the crisis protocol, and start isolating all internal systems. Savannah isn't who we think she is. She's trying to sell our software overseas. My mom got everything. And Keith, she was right. About everything. Less than 4 hours later, Caleb's jet was en route back to New York. By the time he landed, FBI agents were already on site at Savannah's building. They'd responded to Celeste's emergency report and the flood of evidence she had turned over, hours of recordings, photographs of Savannah's encrypted laptop files, names of buyers, financial records, and her own first-hand testimony. Savannah and Landon were both taken into custody without incident, though Savannah screamed through tears that she had been set up. This is a trap. She's jealous. She hates me because I'm white, she cried as officers escorted her down the hallway. Caleb arrived at the precinct just as Savannah was being fingerprinted, her designer heels clacking on the concrete floor. She froze when she saw him. Caleb, she gasped. Baby, it's not what it sounds like. Your mother, she manipulated everything. Caleb didn't blink. I heard you, Savannah. Every word. She took a step forward before being pulled back. No, you didn't understand. We were just talking. It was role play. Satire. Landon was acting. That's not who I am. Caleb's expression hardened. Then why were you planning to wire funds to Zurich? Why were there emails to foreign buyers quoting source code valuations? Why was your laptop full of classified Mitchell Dynamics architecture? You weren't role-playing, Savannah. You were rehearsing. She fell silent as her carefully constructed world collapsed. Landon, faced with mounting evidence and the possibility of decades in prison, quickly flipped. In a plea deal to reduce his sentence, he turned over more files and confirmed what the FBI had suspected: Veronica Lysenko, Savannah's real name, was a key operative in a criminal network that specialized in seducing and defrauding tech moguls and startup founders. They targeted CEOs with soft reputations and weak security. Caleb was a prime mark. But this time, they underestimated the mother. Within days, the story broke nationwide. Billionaire CEO targeted in international cyber espionage plot, one headline read. Retired NYPD detective exposes high-stakes marriage fraud, said another. The public ate it up. Talk shows discussed it. Tech blogs dissected it. True crime podcasts immediately requested interviews. Veronica's trial was swift and brutal. The evidence was overwhelming, the motive clear, and her own words damning. With Landon testifying against her, she was convicted on all counts: fraud, corporate espionage, conspiracy, and assault. She received 18 years in federal prison. Landon got 9, reduced from 25, for cooperation. As the dust settled, Caleb took a leave of absence from the day-to-day operations of Mitchell Dynamics. The betrayal had shaken him deeply, not just as a businessman but as a man. He had built firewalls strong enough to stop nation-state hackers, but he hadn't seen the danger sitting across from him at dinner. I feel like a fool, he confessed one night to Celeste, sitting in the sunroom of her brownstone. I let her in. I defended her against you. I almost signed away everything I built. Celeste didn't gloat. She reached for his hand and said quietly, "Love makes us vulnerable, Caleb. That's not weakness. That's being human. But you listened when it mattered." Caleb nodded, eyes glistening. "You didn't just stop a wedding, Mom. You saved my life." In the months that followed, Caleb slowly returned to Mitchell Dynamics, but with a renewed focus. He implemented stricter internal protocols, doubled the company's security infrastructure, and created a new division dedicated to identifying social engineering threats, not just cyber ones. He also launched a foundation, the Guardian Initiative, to support victims of high-level fraud and exploitation. It provided legal aid, psychological support, and investigation services for entrepreneurs targeted by deceptive partners or predatory schemes. Survivors from similar scams joined the foundation as board members, including 3 of Veronica's previous victims. But the biggest surprise came from Celeste. After the dust settled, she wasn't content to simply return to quiet retirement. Instead, she launched Mitchell Integrity Group, a private firm offering discreet background investigations for families and businesses. "It's not about being paranoid," she said during the opening event. "It's about being prepared. A lie can wear lipstick, walk in heels, and smile as it robs you blind. We're here to protect the people who can't see it coming." Her services were booked out 6 months in advance by clients ranging from high-net-worth individuals to families worried about suspicious caregivers or sudden fiancés. The business flourished, but Celeste kept it lean, principled, and private, just the way she liked it. 1 year to the day after what would have been the wedding, Caleb and Celeste sat together on the wraparound porch of her childhood home in Georgia, watching the sunset. The sky was streaked with orange and violet, cicadas humming in the distance. A soft breeze rustled the magnolia trees. Caleb swirled the bourbon in his glass, the silence between them comfortable. Then he said quietly, "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if you hadn't followed your gut. If you hadn't gone undercover. If I'd married her." Celeste gave him a long, measured look. "You'd still be you," she said. "But they'd have tried to break you. Hollow you out. Strip away everything that made you different. Your kindness. Your hope. Your legacy. You gave me all of that," Caleb said. "And you protected it when I couldn't." Celeste smiled, weathered eyes warm. "That's what a mother does. She sees the storm coming even when her child is dancing in the sunshine. And she builds a shelter around him, even if he doesn't know it's there." Caleb's voice was soft. "You ever regret it? Putting yourself in that position?" "Never," she replied. "Because now you know. And once you see the truth, son, you never unsee it again." They sat in silence again as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the porch. In a world full of masks and deception, the bond between them had proven unbreakable. It had endured betrayal, manipulation, and the razor edge of ruin. And it had come out the other side stronger than ever. Caleb turned to her, lifting his glass. "To the only woman who ever really had my back." Celeste clinked her glass gently against his. "And to the son who finally saw her." In life, the people who love us most are often the ones who challenge us the hardest. They ask questions no one else will. They notice the things we'd rather ignore. And sometimes, they even risk our anger or rejection just to keep us safe. That's what Celeste Mitchell did. Not because she didn't trust her son, but because she knew the world can be cruel, and even the smartest, most successful people can be vulnerable when the heart gets involved. This story is more than just a tale of betrayal. It's a reminder that evil doesn't always come with a scowl or a warning sign. Sometimes, it walks into your life in designer heels, with a dazzling smile, saying all the right things. And if you're not careful, if you silence the people who care for you most, you may not see the danger until it's almost too late. What Caleb learned, and what I hope you take with you, is that love doesn't mean blind trust. Love should never ask you to shut down your instincts or cut off your support system. Real love, whether from a parent, a friend, or a partner, holds space for truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Caleb nearly lost everything, not because he was weak, but because he wanted to believe in someone so badly that he ignored the red flags. It was only when he finally listened to his mother that he saw the storm for what it truly was. For every listener out there, especially those who have someone in their lives waving a warning flag, please don't dismiss them too quickly. Sometimes, that uncomfortable conversation, that nagging gut feeling, or that person who just won't let it go, that's not interference. That's protection. And for those who've had to play the role of Celeste, the vigilant friend, the concerned parent, the voice of reason, you may not always be thanked. But know this, what you do matters. Your courage might just be the reason someone you love is saved from disaster. To our audience at Us, Justice Stories, thank you for spending your time with us today. Your support means everything. If you believe in the power of truth, of family, and of standing up for justice even when it's hard, please like, subscribe, and share this story. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. We're building a community that sees past appearances, listens to the unheard, and stands strong in the face of injustice. Until next time, stay alert, trust your instincts, and always keep justice close to your heart.